I was laying in bed and out of nowhere, I feel like I just needed to share the story of when I finally left my abusive ex-husband. And trigger warning. My ex-husband and I had been married. We'd been together for 5 years. We had had two kids. My son was 3 at the time. My daughter was 1 at the time. Anytime my ex-husband wanted to cheat on me, or if I ever challenged the things he would tell me or not behave the way he wanted me to behave, he would always threaten to leave me and say he'd want a divorce and then give me the silent treatment for weeks at a time. And then when he'd snap out of it, he'd say, "I've decided to give you a chance and hopefully you'll act better this time." In 2008, I'll never forget, he left me and was sleeping in our son's room and going out and doing whatever he wanted to do. And I was doing some cleaning and I found some condoms in his room, and I was upset when I had found them. So I put them on his bed so that he could see that I knew that he had them. As soon as he came home from work, I left the house and went for a walk. And on that walk, I prayed and I said, "God, if it's not meant for me to stay in this marriage, let me see a cardinal." And cardinals are not really, at least in the area that I lived in at the time, it wasn't like a bird that you see every single day. So it was something that I could rely on as far as a sign. So I come back and he sees me and he storms outside and he corners me and he's screaming and cussing me out and yelling at me and blaming me for everything. And then I hear a bird chirp. So I look behind them, and perched up on the top of our car was a cardinal. So that clicked in my head and I was never the same after that. I do not recommend that anybody does this, but I told him I was done and I wanted to leave, to which he was so shocked and didn't understand why I wanted to divorce him. I can't remember if it was the same day or a few days later, but I had had enough. I had my 2 kids and I kept begging for him to let me have the keys to my car so that I could leave. And I asked him one too many times, I guess, and he turned around and choked me, banged me up against the bathroom door while I was holding our daughter. I dropped our daughter, and this all happened in front of our son. Daughter was okay. She landed on her feet. I look over, and my son, who was 3 at the time, was absolutely horrified. My ex-husband bolts out of the house. He's nowhere to be found. So we were living in a house with my ex-husband and his 2 brothers. So I immediately go upstairs with my kids and I say, "Watch the kids. I have to call the police because your brother just choked me." Another big mistake. So I first called a family member to see if they will let me and my kids stay with them. The family member hung up in my face and never answered my phone calls after that. So then I called the police. They came, and one of his brothers came downstairs, gave me back my kids like, "Here," and then tries to convince the police that the marks on my chin and my neck were self-inflicted. The police officer was like, and just kind of laughed it off. His brother left, and the police officer asked me if I wanted to press charges. I was scared of what his brothers might do if I did, so I decided not to. The kid's dad came back later that night, and I don't know how the conversation got started, but he admitted that he was trying to kill me. Through the internet, I was able to find the phone number to a domestic violence women's shelter, and someone at the church that I was going to at the time was kind enough to give me a ride to the police station that was in the vicinity of the shelter. And then once you get to the police station, the police take you to the shelter to protect you and the people at the shelter as well. And also the people at that church, I got everything that I could pack in 2 boxes and a bunch of other things, and a couple from the church agreed to mail all those items to me, which wasn't cheap, to me once I was safe. So I was still scared because, like I said, his brothers lived with us. So he went to work, my ex-husband, and the local police agreed to escort and chaperone me, my 2 kids, and the lady from the church that was bringing me to the next police station to make sure that everything was good. My kids, everything went great. His brother came outside and was like, "What's going on?" when he saw the police and he saw us leaving. And the police was like, just go, just go. So we drove like a couple blocks away until it was safe, and we headed to the police station in the town of the women's shelter. I did not want to die, and I did not want my kids to witness and be subject to the abuse of my ex-husband. That's what caused me to leave. If you have kids, if you don't leave for yourself, leave for your kids.